Okay, this lecture comes from chapter 10 and chapter 7. Both chapters are related, and I'll show you that in a second, from my book, Computer Scripting Techniques with Python. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is virtual environments with Pipenv. Pipenv stands for pip environment. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, the rationale for virtual environments comes from the fact that you will want to isolate your development environments in some cases, right? Now, if you're just doing simple little stupid projects, you probably never run into this issue, right? But generally speaking, when you install Python, like for example, I'm going to pull up a terminal window, and if I type Python 3 -- version, then you see I have Python 3.14.4 installed. This is my global Python package, right? Like when I run Python programs and with Python 3 on my Mac, then that's the Python version that's going to run them. Okay, let's go back to the book. So assume this is Python. In this particular case, I've got Python 3.9, and then you have a site packages that goes along. So if I install a package so now let's go here. Let's go back to that console. If I do a pip 3 list, I think that's the command. Yeah, so these are the packages that are installed in my site packages for my global Python. Okay, certify, meson, packaging, pip, and wheel. I don't have too many, right? And that's because what I do is I use virtual environments, right? It keeps my global site packages unpolluted. All right, so let's go back to the book, and I want to provide the rationale for why we're doing this. So assume that you have Python 3.9 installed, and you had Pandas 1.2.1 installed, right? You're talking global. You're not using virtual environments at this point. And so when you install Pandas, it goes into your site packages, right? Which is shown right here. That's for your global Python environment. Then you install another version of Python, right? Let's say that you're working on another project and you need to install NumPy. All right, so that's what these folders down here represent, different project folders, right? So this is project 1, and this is project 2. So this is project 1, this is project 2 here, right? That's the project 2 folder. So you're working on another project and you say, okay, I need to install NumPy. So you install NumPy for Python 3.9. And because you're using the global Python environment, it goes into the global site packages, right? So now you got 2 packages installed in the global site packages. So now you say, okay, Python 3.10 came out, so you install Python 3.10, but you have not changed your export path, and your export path still points to Python 3.9 as the active Python. So then you create a new project and you want to install NumPy 1.23.5 for project 3 right here. And when you install it, it just goes into the global Python 3.9 site packages because you haven't actually said that, you haven't pointed your environment variable to point to the Python 3.10 installation. So this may or may not break things, right? Like let's say that you had code that specifically needed NumPy 1.18.4, right? For whatever reason. And then you installed 1.23.5 over top of it. Things may or may not work as expected. Certainly, you're probably not aware that you're doing it, which is also, too, kind of not cool, right? So now a little bit more time goes by, and you realize, oh, I need to change my Python because I have installed Python 3.10. But now your NumPy is not in the site packages because you installed it over here in 3.9, right? So you're going to have a problem with that until you figure out what to do with it. Now, what's the solution to this problem? So in my deep announcer voice, imagine a world where there is a tool that allows you to create isolated environments specific to each project. A tool that lets you specify which version of Python a project needs, and a tool that installs and manages package dependencies at the project level. Figure 10.5 shows what life would be like with such a tool. So here's figure 10.5. So here we have our global Python environments. So you can have more than one Python version installed, but you can only have one active global Python. So whenever you are on your machine, not running a Python virtual machine, but just straight up at a terminal, you type Python or Python 3, whatever your active version, and you go -- version, that's your active global version right there, right? Now, but let's say that you over the course of time, right? You install Python 11, Python 3.12, and we're up to Python 3.14. Okay, so with a virtual environment, you can create isolated environments for each of these projects. And then any project that needs Python 3.9, if you have it installed, then you can create a virtual environment for Python 3.9. If you have Python 3.10 installed, then you can have a virtual environment for Python 3.10. You can have a virtual, that's what this .venv stands for, and you'll understand that more here in a bit. So each one of these represents a Python virtual, and then these are all global environments, right? So if you install packages into your active global environment, then they're only active for that particular version of Python. But when you create virtual environments, the packages have their own site packages, right? So the virtual environment that you create for your projects have their own isolated site packages folder, right? So it keeps things separated, and you can have, like, for example, in this particular project 5 has requests 2.28.2, and this project 4 has pillow 9.4.0, right? And so each one of these can have their own isolated set of packages that do not interfere with the other projects, right? That is the motivation for virtual machines. Now, or for the Python virtual environment. So it's not hard. You just have to get in the mindset of using virtual environments. But before you get started, you need to properly configure your development environment, right? So that when you do create a virtual environment, it creates the .venv file. Let's go back to this diagram. It creates the .venv directory in your project folder. That way you know where it's at. If you don't do what I'm going to show you, right, from a configuration standpoint, you're not going to know where it installs, right? You can track it down, but it's convoluted and it just causes headaches, right? So let's go to chapter 7 at this point. I'm going to go back up here to chapter 7. Install Pipenv, okay? Now, let's start with Windows. So what is Pipenv? If we go here, we see that we have the Python development workflow for humans. That's the Pipenv site, and it'll tell you how to install it. Okay, so in my book, you don't have to refer to the website because in the book I show you how to do it. But if we go back to, let's close this folder because I got 2 of them open. Let's go back to the book. Now I'm talking, so Windows first, okay? So on Windows, launch a git bash terminal, right? And run the following command. Now I've already installed Pipenv, but what you want to do is you run install pip or pip3 install -- user Pipenv. Okay, so when you run that command, then you're going to see something like this for your Windows, right? So let's go to Windows and let's open the git bash terminal. I haven't updated this in a while, so it may ask me for an update, but I'm not going to do it right now. So now your Git bash won't do this. This is asking me for my SSH key for GitHub. All right, so CLS. Now if I type pipiv, then when you install pipiv, you should see this output. Okay, so go ahead, follow chapter 7 and install pipiv for Windows. And then when you're done, okay, doing the installation, there's another thing you got to do. You have to add pipiv. You have to navigate. You have to add pipiv to your environment variables, right? So generally speaking, on Windows, when you install something, where does it install? Like you install Python, right? It generally puts it in a hidden folder called app data. So it goes to your home directory, app data, roaming, Python 3, right? So let's open that up in the folder. Let's go back to Windows. All right, so we're going to open up the hard drive. Okay. Then we're going to go to users, Swodog Rick. I know this is small. App data, roaming. And then one more time. Hang on one second. Let me go back to the book. Python, and then whatever the version of Python, right? The book is, whatever version of Python you installed. All right, so let's go back to, roaming, Python, back to Windows, roaming, Python 3.14. So I've got Python 3.14 installed here. Okay, and then scripts. So here's where you see your pip and your pipiv. So when you install pipiv, it's going to install it in user directory or your home /app data, which is a hidden folder, roaming, Python, and then Python 3, whatever the version is, scripts. So you copy that, and then you want to go to this PC, right click on it, okay, and go to properties. You want to create an environment variable, advanced system settings. All this stuff is in the book, how you set these environment variables. All right, so here we have app data, local Windows apps, GCC home, temp. Okay, app data, roaming. It may have said it already, so let's go ahead and edit this and just see. Yeah, so here we go. So C users, Swodog Rick, app data, roaming, Python 14 scripts, right? You just want to make sure you put that in your path environment variable, okay? So this is in the path. You want to edit the path, cancel. And then once you do that, you want to close your terminal window or your bash window and reopen it. And then when you type pipiv, you should see this. For Windows, okay, now you're ready. Now let's go to Mac OS. Mac OS, so let's go back to the book. So that's Windows, Mac OS and Linux. So now the way that you install for Mac OS is you use the brew, okay? Install pipiv. Now I already got it installed, right? So if I open up my terminal for Mac OS, clear the screen, and type brew list, I think it's list. Yeah, you can see that I've got LMNOP pipiv is installed. Plus I've got Python 3.11, 3.12, 3.13, 3.14, right? So I have several different Python environments installed. Okay, so this will become important later. You don't need to have multiple Python environments installed. But over time, you'll end up with multiple Python versions installed unless you remove them, right? Nothing wrong with it. You just have to understand how to manage when you have them on there, right? So anyway, the end result is when you do a brew install pipiv, then you will then if you type pipiv, okay, all right, then you're going to get you'll get pipiv. Now, before we proceed any farther, right? But let's finish with the install. The same for, now let's go back to the book. It's not much different for Linux. It comes pipiv comes on Linux Mint. Okay, so I think you can just type sudo apt install pipiv. Okay, so if I go to my Linux version, my Linux, and I log in here, so this is Ubuntu, right? So similar, it's still Debian based. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna say sudo apt list. I think it's listing. All right, so I should have did a grep. But let me just scroll up here and see if I can get to the P's before I run out of space. P QRST element P. Yes, I'm scrolling. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. This is all the stuff that's installed. Okay, so let me do this again. Let me do a list grep pipiv. Okay, so pipiv noble, right? So it's installed. So the way that you do that, you just use your package manager to install pipiv. Again, type pipiv, and it's there you go, right? So now we've got it installed on Windows. You've got pipiv installed. The next thing you want to do, let's go back to Windows. We're going to start with Windows. So let me go back to my Windows testbed. Okay, so now I'm going to say vi. First off, make sure you're in your home directory. So vi.bash_profile. Okay, you want to put this line right here. Export pipiv. I will put this in the comment section below, or the description below. Export pipiv_venv_in_project, all caps, equals double quotes true. So you put that in your .bash profile. So escape out of here, escape, quit. The same for Linux, except for you put it in your bash RC, or I put it in my bash aliases, and then I call my bash aliases. That's just me. I'm a little weird. So let's do this. cat dot bash aliases. All right, so it's not there. Okay, so let's do bash rc, cat.bash rc. There we go. I put it in my bash rc. You can put it in your bash aliases or your bash rc as long as it gets cold. All right. So yeah, same thing. Export pipiv_virtual venv_in_project equals true. And then of course, finally, Mac OS, we do a cat.bash_profile. And we've got export pipiv true, right? pipiv_venv. This is a very important setting. So now when I show you how to create an environment and show you what you can do with it, this setting will come into play, because it will put your .venv, your virtual environment directory, in your project folder. So now I'm on Mac OS here, right? So I'm just going to clear the screen. And I've got multiple versions, right? So brew list, right? So I've got Python 3.11, 3.12, 3.13, 14. So what I'll do is I'll create a new virtual environment. So cd, clear the screen. I'm going to go to my dev, cd dev, cd dev.temp. And I'm just going to make a new, I'm just going to say project, and make dir project 1, right? CD project 1, CLS. Okay, so let's just assume this is my project, right? And there's a whole nother video on how to create your project structure, right? So I'll just say make dir source, make dir docs, make dir tests, and maybe I'll put a readme MD. Readme MD file, so dir, this is my structure now. So now I want to say, I want to create a Python 3.12 environment. All right, so I say pipenv -- Python 3.12, like that. Hit return, and you'll see a flurry of activity. It'll say Python to create virtual env, creating virtual env. Now, all right, creating the pip file. So let's do dir. Okay, so also too, it'll say virtual environment location. User swodog dev.temp project1.venv. So clear the screen. There's our .venv. Now what's in our .venv? Let's do a tree. There's our virtual environment. So it's got a lot of stuff in there. I guess I could limit it by level. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. So let me do that again. Tree venv -1. Oh, tree dash, I think it's L space 1. There we go. So just at the level, maybe that didn't work. Okay, so anyway, yeah, dir. Let me just do a dir.venv. Okay, so so in the project1.venv. So you get a get ignore, a project, a bin directory, an include, a lib, right? So this is your total package. So if we go into lib dir venv/lib Python 3.12, right? So lib Python 3.12. There's your side packages, right? So your virtual environment, has all the stuff this is your local environment. Now, how do you use your local environment? If I type Python, just right now, right? I created the local environment. I'm still in project 1, dir, there's my .venv. If I type Python 3, this is still 3.14 because this is my global Python. You need to activate your virtual environment, and it'll have an indication on your console when it's activated. So the way that you do that is you have to go, one way to do it is type pipenv shell, and it'll say launching subshell in virtual environment. So now you see where it says project_1 right here. That shows that your virtual environment is activated. So if I type Python, and I think it'll let you type Python, Python 3, pip, pip 3. Let's type dash dash version. So now we're in 312.13, right? So this is our Python 3.12 virtual environment. So shell is one way of activating it, right? So if I do exit, I can get out of the shell. So now I don't have this project 1 on my prompt, right? So that means I'm not in my virtual environment. The other way I can do it is .venv bin activate, I think, source .venv bin activate. So you do source venv or .venv / bin activate. Sometimes I just prefer using the shell, okay? Or another way to do it is just to run a command with Pipenv, and I'll show you how to do that, right? So here, if I run a Python 3 -- version, you see I'm in my 312. If I do now, to get out of here, you have to do this. You have to do source .venv bin deactivate. Oh, I'm in project 1. Yeah, all right. Anyway, maybe if I just do exit, see what happens. Oops, I exited out of everything. Not what I wanted. Let's go back. That was pretty crummy. I get a new window. All right, so let me make this bigger. Don't do that. Whatever I just did, that was not good. All right, so come back here. Still on Mac OS. cd dev.temp cd project 1 dir.
Okay, I found this on the web for Dave.
Siri thinks I'm talking to her. All right. Okay, so CLS and source venv / bin activate. Now, okay, so I'm activated. That's my virtual environment. If I do a dir.venv / bin, so I've got activate ps1 pip. All right, so let me just do this. I may think maybe the answer is just do source deactivate. It's just deactivate. It's too easy. Just deactivate CLS. All right. So once again, to activate, source.venv.bin / activate. And then to deactivate, just do deactivate. Now, if we go, spell it right. If we clear the screen, if we go into do a dir.venv / bin, you can see that there's activate this.py, activate shell script, fish, nu, ps1, and then we've got pip 312, pip 3. This is why you can type Python, Python 3, and Python 312, and you execute your 312. Okay, so activate is a shell script, I think, right there, activate. Okay, anyway, that's how you activate. Now, when you install a package, so let's install a package. First off, and then I'll run a program. So first off, to install something, dir, we have this pip file. That pip file gets created, so you got no packages and no packages. So let's go back to the book. If you want to install something at the production, so if you install something and it's not for development. Like for example, if you install a PyTest, stuff for testing, stuff for documentation would be in dev packages. For everything that gets deployed with the application, that would be in regular packages, right? So let's install a package. First off, to install a package, activate your development environment. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to say source.venv/bin/activate. ACTIVAT, right? So now my virtual environment is activated, as you can see by this project 1 here. Now I'm going to install. I'm going to say pipenv install, just like that, right? Pipenv install pillow. All right, so it's going to install the pillow package. Pillow, I think, does some image manipulation if you need to manipulate images. So now let's clear the screen. Now let's check out. Now we have a pipfile.lock, right? And we let's check out the pip file, cat pip file. So now we have pillow, and it'll just say latest package, right? Pillow latest. Now let's install PyTest, but let's do it at the dev level. Okay, so let's go to the book, and it'll show you how to do that. So installing. So the book tells you how to set that pipenv venv in project, right, for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Everything is in 3s. Everything in the book talks about either Windows, Mac, or Linux. So use the section that applies to your operating system. All right. So let's see here. So now I got to go to chapter 10. Let's go to chapter 10, virtual environments. Okay. So come down here. We've got, again, I kind of review how to install, running an application, how to install a package, purpose of the pip file, okay, and then how to install a package. Right, quick review, installing packages. So let's go down here. So if you want to install a package for development, then it's pipenv install --dev package name. So let's go back to CLS. I'm going to install a PyTest, right, just as a demo. Pipenv install --dev PyTest. All right, so it installs it. CLS, cat, the pip file. All right, so now we've got pillow for our regular packages and PyTest for our dev packages, right? So if you were to package this up in a wheel file, the only things that would be packaged along with it would be the dependent packages if you're using pillow in this example, right? This is just an example. And honestly, that's about it. Now, how do you run an app, right? So let me create just a source file and I'll show you how to run it. So clear the screen, do a dir. I'm still in my virtual environment, so cd, at this point, I'm just going to say code dot. So I'm going to open Visual Studio Code in this folder. If you're not opening code like this, you should. It really makes a big difference, right? All right, so Visual Studio Code is loaded in my project folder. So I'm going to select my source, and I'm going to add a new file called main.py. Main.py. And this will just be entry point. Entry point. And then by now, def, you should know this by heart. Main. And on this, I'm just going to print hello world. like that, and then come down here. If name property equals underscore underscore main, then run the main function. So now to run this, I go back to my console. I'm in my virtual environment, and then just type Python. You can type Pipenv. Well, you're in the virtual environment, right? So here you just type Python, right? Or Python 3, because any of those commands will work. So Python source/main, and it runs. Now, if you're not activated, right? So let's do this, deactivate, right? And you want to run that main in your virtual environment. You go Pipenv run Python source main. I believe this is how you do it. If not, it's in the book. Hello world. So you ran it with this in that virtual environment that Pipenv had right there, right? Even though you didn't see it do it, it did it. It did it, right? Okay, so that's another way to run it. And this is the way I usually run it in scripts, right? Like if I have a virtual environment, then I'll just say Pipenv run Python, and then when it's done, it it comes out of the virtual environment. And that is it for Pipenv, right? It seems like it's a lot. It seems like, wow, it's just more stuff to know. But if you just write a few things in your engineer's notebook, take a few notes. Most importantly, understand the rationale for it. Okay, and really the rationale is this. I guess I saved the best for last, right? Whenever you're on a team of people, you don't usually run into this when you're developing by yourself, right? So if you were just ever developed by yourself, you'd never probably have a need for it other than package deconfliction. But when you're developing with other developers and you have a different local environment, you may be developing on Windows, they're developing on Mac, someone else is developing on Linux, and you want to run you're working on a project, and every time you run it, you want to get the same exact results as someone who is running it on Windows, right? And you want to run it in the same environment. Well, how do you do that? You create a virtual environment. So what happens is then you run yours in that everyone has the same, virtual environment. Everyone can recreate the same virtual environment, the same version of Python, the same packages, and then you get deterministic builds. Essentially, that's what you're looking for, right? You don't want to have, oh, it works this way on my environment because they're using a different environment than it does on Linux, right? You need to have this unification of environments, and that's what the virtual environments give you, right? And that's it. If you understand that motivation, then I think you'll do fine, right? All right, that's it. See you in the next video.